Welcome back to another video. So, to some of you this might look familiar, and to some of you this might be completely alien. But yeah, this is my North America zoo that I started almost a year ago, and you know, if you've been following the channel for a while, you'll know that this is kind of the zoo that really led to the takeoff of my channel. Yeah, it's just a simple North American themed zoo. It had a bit of a resurrection after the North America DLC I added to it. But I thought it would be cool to do kind of a tour. Because, you know, I did the showcase video, but I didn't really do a tour. And, you know, all for last year, this is kind of the zoo I paid the most attention to. Just coming back and decorating it and making it look really nice. You know, trying to make it complete. So I would say this is like my first real complete zoo. And I opened it up to guests, and it's almost at 7,000 guests, and it's really laggy. So the frame rate's a little low. But I decided to have it with guests, you know, to make it feel more real. So as you see, we'll start the tour. This is the entrance area. We'll be able to see how my building skills have improved, because look at that, that is not the prettiest. But yeah, so, you know, lots of Arctic pieces, lots of North America pieces. We have, you know, the statues of the different animals from North America. And then we have, you know, this is sort of how I also started the real information booth as the real front gate. I know that's technically a front gate. I'm too lazy to mess around with that, but here we go. And you come in here and you start to see how forested it is. I really wanted it to be a forested zoo. My local zoo has a lot of green space in it, so I wanted to kind of emulate that. We have the other statues, you know, just really making it feel North American. And then we have these advertisement boards, getting a nice glare from the sun, but the idea is that the guests see it, and you know, they advertise the different areas of the zoo to try to make sure they spread out. Because the way these are intended to work is, the guests see them, they're more likely to go to that area. And it's a pretty big zoo. But yeah, so we have it kind of sorted to the areas. So I have most of these animals at the kind of Great Plains area at the back. And then these animals are sort of towards straight where I'm looking. That's kind of like the Rocky Mountain area. Then we have these animals kind of in the center and to the east of the zoo. And those animals in the back, and I didn't have enough room to put the alligators, but that's okay. So we come in here, and the first kind of area is the harbor area. I kind of think of it as, it's like themed around the seals, which you can here. Oh, I even called it Gray Seal Harbor. I forgot that I named the starting areas, the starting exhibits. So we have Timberwolf Woods, Grizzly Grotto, Dalls Ridge, Reindeer Ranch, Great Plains, Arctic Wolf Cove, and Polar Bear Point. Not all of them can be alliterations, since I could not think of one for Dalls Sheep. Dalls Sheep Depot, just thought of one, and I'm not changing it. So we come over here and we see our first animal being the gray seals. And has a gift shop. Again, you can tell how my builds have improved. We have an area we look into the gray seal exhibit from above. You can see the educator talk, you know, bringing in guests. Being right at the zoo, I often get complaints from the seals that they're stressed. But when we come over here, seems like most of them are on land right now. It looks like it's feeding time. But guests can come all the way over here to get a view of them. The fence is a little high, but still, I can still get a look. You'll notice that I've done some adjustments. You know, that was kind of the ugliest shelter, and it was the most views, so I added some decoration to it to make it look a little nicer. So yeah, that's the first exhibit that you end up seeing when you come to the zoo. You know, a lot of zoos have seals or sea lions as kind of their front gate animal, so, you know, it makes sense to do it here. And almost forgetting that down here we have the underwater viewing area. I thought I heard someone sighing, but yeah. You can see them swimming around and all the low frame rate glory of a full Planet Zoo. Reaching over, feel my computer, the fan is going wild. But yeah, still running, so yeah, that's the first exhibit. I think we'll go around this way through, but I have education boards throughout, trying to raise like guest education rating, and also all the buildings in here have 100% scenery bonus. Helps having all those trees around. But yeah, we're coming over here. This is actually the first exhibit I built for the zoo, the Timberwolf Woods. Like, it's, for one of my exhibits, it's aged pretty well, It doesn't look awful. Didn't have the best rock work with it, but I like what I did with having this kind of uneven terrain in the middle. It's kind of where I discovered the use of the roughing tool. I forgot I even put lichen on the rocks, or moss on the rocks. Now see we have this little area for the wolves, voice crack, area for the wolves to come and drink water. And that's some play fighting over there. Yeah. You can see I have some of these kind of awnings for guests as these viewpoints. Not really a little bit of shade, but some decoration. Yeah, pretty nice exhibit overall, I think. Nice and different elevations for you to see the animals. Then we have this little loop, decorative loop for the wolves. And of course the education booth with the deafening music. So one problem I do have with this zoo is I made the exhibits really big. I like making really big exhibits. Lets you do a lot of different things with them, but then the guests complain that they can't see them because they have to be so close. But I make the exhibits for me. This is sandbox mode, so it doesn't really matter. And then you see the wolf den building. I tried adding a little bit of detail to it. Probably don't like it. I'll delete it. But none of them in here to demonstrate. Oh, nope, we do have some. Kind of indoor viewing area for their shelter. I give them 2 shelters. There's also a second one back there. I shouldn't walk through the exhibits if I'm doing like a tour. But yeah, they have a second exhibit. You can see the roof through those. Through those trees. Yeah, so that's the wolf exhibit. See, you got nice and forested. I used pretty much the same trees throughout in different areas. This took a long time. That's why it doesn't cover the whole zoo, but this kind of area, kind of centered around this coffee shop. I have these logs as just a little bit of a natural fence. Natural because it's wood. I guess not really natural, a wooden. But yeah. So, kind of around this coffee shop, I just realized I'm kind of going out of order. I'm going to go to the Grizzly Bear Grotto, because I realized if I go that way, I'm going to be already on that part of the zoo, and I'm going to miss a whole wing of it. You can tell I put no forethought into this. Yeah, so we have this nice forested area, lots of plants, lots of logs. We have that coffee shop, lots of vending machines, because I still couldn't satisfy all my guests. We have this little food court area, nothing too fancy. Then we come over here, and we're at Grizzly Bear Grotto. I decorated this a little more. I really like how this area turned out with the thick logs as the fence, and then a little pond, and the cypress trees, and then at night, the statue getting illuminated by the spotlight. Looks really nice. But yeah, we come over here. I had to put that no feeding sign because my bears kept getting fed human food. Oh, how did I end up here? It started levitating. Oh, it's happening again. So something's misaligned with that path, so I'll go the long way around. Yeah, that's like the staff room for the Grizzly Bear Grotto. We'll see that in a second. But hopefully we can get this path. At least the guests have no problem traversing it. But yeah, so we have the grizzly bear habitat. So again, give them a nice big pool of water. Grizzly bears like to swim. And a nice big forest for them. But again, the exhibit's pretty big, so it's hard to actually get a viewing of them. It seems like they can see them though, they're cheering. I think right now I have the breeding pair and 2 cubs. Then over here we have the, I think I explained it in the video, but I gave them a little cabin to kind of tell a story. You know, the bear is breaking into the cabin. That's why you need to be safe in bear country and bear-proof your belongings. But we have a little food court up here, nothing too fancy. Just a nice little bear area, get some food. Nothing crazy. And then of course in the back there, we have a big mountain with a cave. The bears like to spend a lot of their time. It's kind of the second exhibit that I made an actual burrow for. The first being the Arctic wolves. Yeah. No sign of the bears yet. Trust me, there's bears. We come down this way. We get kind of a ground level viewing of the bears. The hypothetical bears. Oh, and I forgot I had some lower elevation back here. Yeah. It's all about variation. The best exhibits are the ones that aren't flat, in my opinion. Getting a lot of notifications for the zoo, but I'm not checking those. It's Sandbox, that's fine. But yeah, we leave from the Grizzly Bears and kind of head into the Great Plains area. Oh, and I should mention, because we're not going to take this path, but in the middle of the zoo, I kind of have this redwood forest, you know. You can see it from the monorail, but kind of dividing the grizzly bear area and the Dalls sheep area. Just this nice big, you know, I wanted to make use of the crazy big trees. And here we have the first animal added after the North America DLC, and that's kind of when the North America DLC came out. That was when my channel took a really big spike. Those were the golden days, getting 2,000 views a day. It was great. Those days are long gone. And I also kind of, now that I'm actually in school again, slowed down the channel. But still, I digress. We have the prairie dogs, and they were kind of like a surprise, to be sure. You know, I wouldn't have expected them to be added in the DLC, but I'm glad they were. As a kid, I had a phase where I really liked prairie dogs, so glad they're included. I'm glad Planet Zoo is adding a lot more smaller animals than its predecessor games. But yeah, so I had this kind of area open when the zoo was kind of finished, quote unquote, finished the first time. So I thought putting the prairie dogs in here would be a good idea. And I was able to actually make use of the desert North American plants because they were like the first animal I did that at the time liked that kind of foliage, so I wanted to make full use of it. So lots of cacti, lots of desert rocks, lots of sand. There's some grass at the back, but you can't really see it. But yeah, just nice desert habitat. They all must be in the various shelters right now, because I can only see that one chirping away. Oh, there's another. Of course, they have, as you see, they have the different rocks they can go up. This one is pretty flat, has some dips and valleys and hills, and I think most of the elevation comes from the rocks. There's that exhibit. Of course, we have just some more decoration area, making highlight of the cacti again, little planter. And then we have this big hub. It has pretty much every shop in the game, and only half of them get used. I don't know why. Not many guests like coming back here. Oh, but this is the most guests I've ever seen back here. That's good that they're starting to use it more, but yeah, you can tell back then my building was not the best. Very bland. Very bland. Yeah. Next are there's two habitats of the same animals, because I got a really good genetic-wise bison on the market. You know, in sandbox mode, you always got to take advantage of that. But then I also got a second one. You can see him back there. His name's Wright. In the update, his name got changed, so I changed it back because I made a statue. You can see over there for them. But yeah, so we have a pronghorn herd and bison herd here in this smaller exhibit. And you know, the idea being that if this was a real zoo, they would be rotated through the two paddocks, you know. Like some zoos have different breeding groups of animals that they rotate through the large habitat and a smaller habitat, or like the behind the scenes area. So that is a very small bison. I should not be standing taller than a bison. That's a very small bison. There you can see just kind of, again, plain Jane building. They have a barn. I remember when I was driving somewhere, I looked and I saw the barn roofs having pretty much that shape, so I emulated it. So the bison seem really small now. Anyways, as I mentioned, here's the right statue, you know, commemorating my second albino in the game. The first one was actually an aardvark. But yeah, then we come over here and we have the main Great Plains exhibit, which the guests hate because all the animals are so far. There was no reason to make the exhibit this big. I just wanted it that big. I wish you could have bigger bison herds and pronghorn herds, but I know I can turn social group off and do it, but I like to have a little bit of constraint, you know. You can see there we have the pronghorn running through. We have the bison. I have a lot of the plants at the front because they were still getting stressed. And this was back when there wasn't too many options to use for them. But of course now they've updated it so they have other preferred biomes than just grassland. So I could add different trees in, like some taiga trees, but I like the mostly open view. Not so much this area is a little crowded, but you know, that's a good view, having it all. And remember the part where I said that flat exhibits aren't the best? I made this one flat because I was thinking like the Great Plains are flat, Saskatchewan, you know, if your dog runs away, you see it run away for 3 days. If I were to do this over again, I would have the path that I'm standing on elevated, looking down and out over this prairie. But you still get a good view of the animals. You know, I use the mesh fence too much, but you can, put your head up to the bars and you see them all. Look at them go. Got a little stampede going. Then of course over here, this was like the first building that I made that I was like, dang, that's a good building. And my buildings have hopefully gotten better since then, but just a little exhibit house for the animals. So, you know, we have the terrapins, the Gila monsters, the scorpions, the rattlesnake, and the Mexican tarantulas. You know, just a nice little sandstone building going with the kind of desert theme. This was before the prairie dogs were out, but wanted to make use of the desert areas, or the desert plants. 3 of the animals were from the desert. It all worked out. Originally when I made this exhibit, I had like sandstone brick walls behind it, or like concrete or something, and I didn't know that there was the 3D facades. So I went back and changed it to 3D facades because they look much better. But yeah, so that's... I learned that at like hour 600 of playing this game. So there we go. We have the Great Plains and the Rocky Mountains explored. Well, actually there's 2 animals left in the kind of Rocky Mountain area. I have to do a little bit of backtracking, but, you know, try to take a different path than we took before. Actually, no, I'm an idiot. I don't know how the zoo's laid out. So that leads... No, yeah, this is the way we need. I have no idea where I'm going. I've spent countless hours in the zoo. And you can see it seems to be a pretty popular zoo. The main complaint with guests being, like, all their needs are met. It's just since you can't see the animals very well, it really hurts the happiness rating. So, you know, franchise mode where it matters, make sure you guys can see the animals. Someone did the math and it's like most animals are like between 12 and 20 meters is the ideal view distance, like as far as you can go for them. But anyways, here we have the Dalls sheep exhibit, and probably like the bears, they're probably going to all be at the back. Oh, no, there's some. So the idea with this one I had was like it's kind of a mountain meadow, have these big open grassy areas at the front with the mountain at the back with the sheep, you know, you can kind of see them up there. when they climb the mountain, you're looking up at them. Again, changing the sight lines with elevation. And here we enter again around the coffee shop. These wooden fences. I think they look nice, but they are a pain to make. So I guess I have pretty much a full group of Dalls sheep in this area, but most of them seem to be in the barn. The back. Now we come around this way. Now the Dalls sheep added in the Arctic DLC. So gotta keep the exhibit cold, so I hide all the the coolers under the ground. And there they go. See, that's what I kind of had in mind, seeing them run across the mountain like that. Yeah, because that's the noise that Dalls sheep make. But hopefully these guys get educated, because the animal is close by, you know? Oh, looks like I need some washrooms over here, but that's too bad for them. Here we have kind of the rest of the belt of the forest, so the redwoods kind of cut across and rejoin here. Look at that, that's picturesque. And in this area, kind of another little mini biome I did. And I ended up reusing it for the beaver area. We got some willows and stuff. I really like this kind of quote-unquote palette of plants. For like each area of the zoo, I kind of had it like constrained to a certain group of plants. You reuse them in certain areas, you know, to kind of really make it feel like different little biomes. I will be right back. Alright, I'm back. Sorry about that. Had to answer the door. But yeah, so we come to another Arctic Animal DLC. We have the caribou. And I didn't really want to make it a tundra habitat, so I kind of made this more like a woodland caribou habitat. You know, there's different subspecies of caribou. So these are the woodland caribou subspecies, we'll say. But we have kind of a little bit of a tundra at the front, you know, the low-grown plants. And then that back area, a little bit of elevation with some trees and a bit of a forest at the back. Lots of caribou lichen, caribou moss, because, you know, caribou really like it. I'm pretty sure that I said in a different video, but I take a shot every time I tell the story. I went to the Arctic. I did field work in the Arctic. And one of the field sites was a bog, and it had a lot of this caribou lichen, and it was like 3 feet deep of caribou lichen, basically. And I laid on it. I'll tell you, it was like some of the softest material I've ever laid on. Of course, it's like a main staple for like woodland caribou and other caribou. So, yeah. And of course over here, can't be caribou without Christmas. So there's a little kind of, you know, gimmicky decoration area. And yeah. I filled out this corner. I probably should put a washroom by it, but the idea is that it's a pick-your-own-berry field. Definitely not inspired by my summer job between my master's and PhD, but a pick-your-own-berry field. You know, the guests come, they pay, they pick their berries. But then over here, you know, the juice in the smoothie. Yeah, just kind of a neat little idea. Don't know how well it works out in practice, but yeah. So before the North America DLC came out, I needed some way to kind of hide the back of the zoo, so I made this mountain range. And then the rest of the DLC came out with the North America animals, and I was like, dang, now I gotta put a tunnel through the mountain so people can get to it. So we have this little tunnel through the mountain, and it turned out really cool. I like it, kind of like an old mining tunnel, you know. Kind of looks cool. This area I kind of neglected for the undergrowth. I really should go back and do it, but you know, some statues around and a little hidden camping scene back there with another bear. You know, just kind of like, you know, Disney World. There's all the little hidden details, so we have that one over there. And then, you know, we come out here and once again to one of the most iconic Canadian animals, an icon of Canada, we have the moose. And again, since I made this exhibit, the moose's biomes have been updated to allow for more plants. When I made this, they only enjoyed tundra, so the plants are kind of limited, but we have this open, low growth. You see my exhibits have a common pattern, but we have the low growth at the front, and then that mountain at the back with some trees, you know, for some forest. And we have the big male. Of course, the buildings here, similar theme to the other ones, but a little different detail. Not kind of like that, you know, the different areas of the zoo have a different building style, like a real zoo would have, you know, when new additions are made. Used a lot of reds in the foliage here, you know, because red and white, moose Canadian, you know, hand in hand. It's really funny that, you know, moose weren't in the base game, but kind of a staple Zoo Tycoon animal, so it's good that they were added. They still feel new to me, even though it's been like 4 months that they've been in the game. So then, I think we'll go this way first. So again, more of this wooden fencing, and over here, woman's looking around, she's lost. You have big open goldenrod area, you know, for the pollinators. Probably gonna try to build like a little beehive, put it in here, you know, like an apiarist's hive where they collect honey. You know, add some more detail to it. Had to spam benches because guess we're getting tired back here. The main part of the zoo has the bear-to-bear monorail, which I'll probably end the video by riding. But this area, you know, there's no transport, so it's all by foot. So we have, kind of moving into this area, we have the beach area for the Californian sea lions, you know. I know a lot of people were excited for it, but there's other animals I probably would prefer it over the sea lion in the game, but, so we have a little food area over there, and here we have the sea lion viewing area. So, the whole exhibit's kind of like a U shape for the path, so you can see them from all angles. Made use of the education talk seating. You know, it seemed most appropriate to go with the sea lion. And it came out the same patch, so had to use it. Not a big fan of it. But yeah, so you know, the sea lions, big deep pool with a dock. I was hoping that the educator could throw food onto the dock and they'd come up it. Unfortunately not. But the sea lions still use it. And then for the actual, yeah, I like to say my building improved, but this is kind of a flop. It's supposed to be a lighthouse. Vaguely looks like a lighthouse. But yeah, so see plenty of sea lions. Making good use of the aquatic pack's fake rocks, even if I have them levitating in some spots. It took a long time to do the rock work. Still hate doing it, but it looks good when you do it properly. I have some seal statues here too, just cause need some variety. Then we come down here, not the most accessible, some litter, a lot of litter, need to put some garbage cans. Need to put some more garbage cans. We have the underwater viewing for the sea lions. Keep saying sea lions. Seals and sea lions are different. Yeah, so none are currently swimming because they were just fed, but you can see when they are swimming around. Oh, here they come. Gives you a good view of them. Here they go. Lots of aquatic vegetation. That's where the above water area is kind of duller because they had a really low requirement for vegetation, but I thought the underwater viewing would be more important. I feel like I have hardly seen any of the animals, but I've seen most of them, just not the bears. Coming over this area, it's the last thing that was added to the zoo, the Alligator Pavilion. Now, built them inside, you know, seemed appropriate, and also I did the Showcase 2 video in the winter to kind of add some difference, to make it a bit different than the first one. I can't talk. Yeah, see, we have this big open swampland. No underwater viewing for these guys, but have like a little sandbar for them to come out on. Then, of course, over here we have the aquatic exhibit animals. We have the frogs. Here, if you can see any of them. Remember, in the actual video it was hard to see, but there's one classic on a lily pad. And then, again, from the aquatic pack, the diamondback terrapins. There we go. Yeah, we have some area. You can pretty much go all the way around the exhibit. Get a good view of them eating. Yeah, you can see I use some moss to kind of break up the undergrowth there. And I really like this turned out, and I actually reused it again in the saltwater crocodile habitat. But just little divots. You can see one actually resting in it. Just little shallow mud pools for them to. I know they have actual mud pool enrichment items, but over there. But that kind of looks cool too. It's a little bit of a difference, and they actually use it. Breaking the rules, going in the exhibit. Boozy, just kind of swimming in the little mud pool. I like it. I like how it turned out. Building took a long time to make, and it's alright. You know, kind of my standard style of indoor building, but it's fine. Again, I'm not the best builder, but I like to think I'm improving. And I made it, you know, big glass dome. Again, another staple of my indoor buildings. You see I made use of the metal pieces, trying to close up any gaps, because when I set it to Reindeer for recording, they kept complaining that there was too much snow in the exhibit, but it didn't look like any snow was in the ground. But when you were like in there, you could see the snow falling, so I had assumed that if it was fully enclosed with the roof pieces, it would be, you know, weatherproofed, but even there's a little gap, it doesn't count as outside. Or it doesn't count as inside. I always have to, you know, choose someone to pop their balloons. But yeah, we're kind of a little over halfway for the tour now. See the moose through the trees there. Some more hills, some different trees. You can see some different ones for this area compared to the others. I'm trying to keep this structured, but also just feel like I'm rambling. Now it leads back to the moose. You can see this area, again, different kind of set of trees and plants, because it's the mountains for the cougars, which seem to be pretty popular right now. So yeah, this area, you know, I spent a lot of time on the rock work, really trying to make it feel mountainous. The front of the exhibit is nice, the back of the exhibit is not so nice. But yeah, they have a little cave up there, and you know, there's the cub you can kind of see, and a lot of rock faces for them to climb. Reused that design for the education talk, you know. I like it. It feels like it fits, but lots of low plants there for them to stalk through, to hide in. And their little shelter off to the side. Again, had to keep that plain so they couldn't climb up and out it. But yeah, that back of the exhibit's really, really messy, but it doesn't look too bad for me. This might be one of my preferred exhibits in this zoo. I think it turned out really nice. This was before I was really doing anything crazy with the fences, but besides it's just a big concrete slab, but yeah, lots of room for them to roam. See, that's a nice view of them walking through the mountain path. It's kind of like a better version of the Dalls sheep exhibit, in my humble opinion. If I were to go back, I would do the Dalls sheep exhibit kind of like this. I think that looks nice. And here, some of the next animals we're coming up on, because they are still very loud. I think I'll go this way first. And of course, you see, because we're near the two most iconic Canadian animals. The next one we're going to, and the moose, we had to put a Tim's. It's nothing's more Canadian than that. I guess I'll go here first. Canada flag too, because it's Canadian, because it's moose. Moose are an icon of Canada, not Sweden. Still holding the grudge. I'm this petty person. But here we have an overview area for the moose. We're back to it. The iconic little swampland. I know those trees aren't from North America, breaking the immersion, but I wanted something a little different and to blend in the scratching post a little better. You can see the habitat camera too. Yeah, just another look at them. Kind of a nice building. I like this, and I actually really used it for a much larger version for building in the Stubbtooth Zoo, but I haven't gotten around to finishing. Maybe I'll do that after this video. Oops, just accidentally tabbed out, but here we go, we're back. So yeah, from the Tims, we come over here, we got the Cougar exhibit right there, and we have the Beaver Pond. You see this area of the zoo, I don't really have the guidepost signs, because they kind of get tedious to use. But this area, I also used a different palette, the one that kind of between the doll sheep and the reindeer. We have the aspen and the birch trees and the willows, and those are actually some of the types of plants that beavers prefer. So, felt it was fitting to have it around there. And we have the Beaver Pond, a really huge exhibit for such a small animal. But you can see up here we have a big deep pond, and over here, what took way too much time and still doesn't look that great, is a Beaver Dam. You know, the idea being that they dammed off the river and the water can't get through, so it dried out. See a couple of them down there in the dried out riverbed. You know, because beavers, ecosystem engineers. I wish that the default these sticks were laying down, but instead their default aligned to surface is straight up. So you have to rotate every one so it lays down, but look at them go. It's really a cool exhibit. And of course, we have this, the only other guest education seating area that I've made. Yeah, the Beaver Dam doesn't actually look that bad. I wish there's more options for logs to use. This is before the beavers too included aquatic plants in their repertoire, so the actual water underneath is kind of barren, but you can't really see it too much, so it's fine. Look at them go. My local zoo actually just got beavers again after not having them for a while, so I got a good look at one the other day. Cool animals. So then we're on up kind of the last few exhibits. I wish I could have included it on the other side of the mountain range with the other Arctic animals, but we have the Arctic foxes. So this exhibit we have the forest at the back, and then I included a lot of snow at the front for them to try to get them to demonstrate that new animation that's exclusive to them, where they jump up and dive down. People still littering. Garbage cans all over the place. The shelter is kind of a mess for them because I made it snow and ice, and I didn't know what to do for a roof on it, so I said, screw it, I'm putting it in a glacier. So I just covered it in ice. The whole back area, we'll be able to see it from up there when it's all ice. There are some of the adults. So you can see kind of a good view of them. Maybe not the best. That door is misaligned. I should fix that. But yeah, you can see this is the most decorated zoo I have. So then we come back around here. And this, again, instead of doing another tunnel, I just bulldozed the mountain range, dividing the two halves of the zoo. Knocked over my mic. And yeah, bulldozed it. Just so the guests can get from one area to the other. And you can kind of see this is the other end of the bear-to-bear monorail. I don't even remember I showed the station, but that really comes close. So just realized how low that is. That would not be safe in real life. Good thing this isn't real life. Oh look, the inspector's here. Wonder what she's thinking. Gonna save the polar bears for last, since they're like, I know, yeah, I'll leave them for last. Don't look. Because I'm gonna use the bear monorail. You know, the polar bears are good ending, you know, it's the most popular animal in the zoo. Yeah, but over here we have the Arctic wolves, the second exhibit I made for this zoo. So, I have a lot of trees on this end. You can tell this was before I really had ideas on how to like cluster plants to make them look better and overlap them to make them look better. But we have the elevated path with the snow rocks to kind of blend it. You can see they stand out a little better against the green background, so that's why I didn't make the whole exhibit snow, but still gave them some snow to live in. That should be placed better. But yeah, you can see we have a pack of them. There's the baby laying down there by the water. 2 caves for them, and the shelter at the back. But they seem to like the underground shelter is the best. You can see it's just kind of like an open tree line. You know, not too many trees, but a little bit barren. I think it looks good. You get a good view of them. But yeah, and then I guess I should show that part as we walk back to the polar bears. You can see some areas I still need to fix, like the grass poking through there. So this thing maybe isn't 100% complete, but it's pretty good. It's the one I've definitely spent the most time and effort on. Another wolf statue, you know, pack them on the ice. Yeah. Over here, again, when the zoo was before the North American DLC, I needed something here, so I put a big lake. So, you know, like, nice water feature with a lot of cattails and willows, and island in the middle. Someone's canoe too, obviously. You see the canoe there. Of course, I had actual canoes, not the Indian boats to look like canoes. But yeah, I like this part, the mountain range. You know, not too much detail on it because you're not really seeing too much of it up close. So it's not, the rock work's not the most complete. But yeah, then we have the biggest exhibit besides the prairies. Might actually be similar size to polar bears, because this was made back when polar bears had insane space requirements, and they still have great space requirements, but not as bad as they used to. Because like, you know, they need such a big area, and then never get a good view of them. But someone needs the lawnmower over here. But we have the above water viewing area, which, you know, they never, even though it's like a third of their exhibit, they never actually swim in. Of course, the monument to melting glaciers that you always need to have with polar bears to guilt people about global warming. But yeah, so we have just a big open pool for them that they never use. I think it's deep enough for them to dive, but they never even swim. They're bony, aquatic mammals. So no sign of them yet, and the bears have been very absent in this video. Yeah, this area for the foliage, again, I kind of made it more like a tundra, the lichens and the willows. You know, as I've mentioned before, I went to the Arctic for some field work, and I did see polar bears. I should point it out over here. I made the rocky area kind of like the rock bluffs that I did some research at. So like that with the, can't go through the glass, but, oh, clicking something. There we go. But, yeah, so the rock bluffs with some low-growing foliage. Yeah, one of the polar bears we saw was actually a big male polar bear stalking us from down the beach, and our bear guard saw it while we were on top of a rock. So we called out, like, back to the bus, and we all ran back to the bus, and Oh, there we go. There's one of the bears. So, it's a scary experience. That was the second bear we had to run from. The first polar bear we had to run from, we were up near an old radio station, and there were some bushes and a mother bear, and two cubs came out about 50 meters from us, and of course the mother bear just stops and looks at us, and we all run back to the bus, and the bear guards stand there, you know, making sure we all get on safe, but pretty intense. So yeah, we saw 11 bears that trip total, and we had to run away from 2 of them. Good times. But yeah, this part, you know, the polar bears exhibit's kind of like 3 parts. We have the rock bluffs, and we have the kind of tundra part. The snowy tundra, all snow, undulating hills for snowbanks. And of course they have a cave in the rock bluffs. Then we come over here for another look at them. You know, even though it's such a big exhibit, I tried to have lots of areas where guests can see them. The European zoo, the polar bears are kind of in the same spot of the zoo, but a much smaller exhibit. We have the area where you can look down into the exhibit, and it's more like the tundra that I was at, with some low growing willows and foliage. You can see, instead of just having that as a snow block, I added some actual structure to it to make it look hopefully a little bit better. You can see that's where the den opens up. Now we can't see any of the bears. One was heading this way. Oh, there he is. Yeah. And then we have the mountain, where on the other side is the Arctic foxes. I'm trying to see if I can see that abomination of a shelter I made from over here. But yeah, back here leads to the behind the scenes area, the staff building and all that. Yeah, feeling nostalgic for the zoo, even though I spent a lot of time in it. Like, sometimes if we want to play some Planet Zoo, but I don't want to start anything new, I come to this zoo and decorate it. So, still not perfect, as you can see. More litter, people are awful. But we have the bear-to-bear monorail, so I'll cut it here until the monorail is ready to depart from the station and head that way. But see you on there. We'll get a good tour of the zoo, or at least most of the zoo from it as it goes across. I didn't insert in time. We're already going. But yeah, so here we're departing from the polar bear station. So you can see on this side, you can get a good view of the polar bear, and on this side, get a good view of that lake. Really looks scenic from up here. This is like only one of 2 zoos that I've done a monorail system. And of course, there are the Arctic wolves. Because there's some trees. Because it's almost like you have to build the monorail first, and then or the transport station first, and then build your zoo around it. It's a little difficult, but you know, there are the seals. And then on this side, what we see, more trees. Again, if you get this side, you kind of get a bum tour. Actually, no, never mind, because they're the Dalls sheep. And more trees. But you get glimpses of the Dalls sheep through the trees. So that's kind of cool. And then over here, you see the grizzly bears. Oh, there are the bears! We saw them. We saw a glimpse of them. And then back to the other side, you see the prairie dogs and the Great Plains. You can kind of see where the zoo ends, but yeah. There's the bear-to-bear monorail. It kind of tore out. It's quick. It's fast. It's a fast transport system. But see, I told you there's grizzly bears. Yeah, I thought the bear-to-bear monorail was kind of a funny idea for the zoo. But yeah, so that is, you know, we'll go to an overhead view of it. That's my first real completed, nice looking throughout zoo. Yeah, I like it. I think it's nice. I think it's cool. Definitely, you know, not the best zoo out there, but probably my best zoo. You can see like the different areas of different trees. We have like a lot of the conifer trees up at the top left or top right, and the redwoods. You know, you can see those stretches of it. I think it looks cool. The red maple trees near the moose. That's funny. But Yeah, so there we go, the North America Zoo. You know, if you enjoyed the video, maybe I'll do some tours through the other finished zoos I've done over the past year, and you know, if you liked it, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. But as always, have a good day. Take care.